Our next reader is a fiction writer, Rebekah Pickard. She studies with Peter Orner and Nona Kaspers in the MFA program at SF State. Glimmer Train named her short story Pray Down the Rain on the top 25 list of their September 2012 fiction open contest. She's currently working on a novel with the working title I Am My Brother's River, the story of two brothers growing up together in rural Missouri in the 1920s. Maybe she'll tell you a little bit more about that. So welcome, Rebekah.
Thanks so much. The only other thing to say about that is it's a Cain and Abel story, but I don't know which is which. And it opens in 1913. Outwaters raised rabbits on the same eastern Missouri farm for 113 years without a hitch, until Galen was born, feet first. The third bad omen for Mama's firstborn, after bird sign and that pesky number 13. 7 months along, Mama slid open her favorite homing pigeon. Her and Grandma Bissett studied its entrails for the blessing of foreknowledge, and there, twisted swamp green and a foamy yellow puddle widening on white linen, they saw a son insensible to the Lord's purposes, reeking of fresh blood and kerosene lamplight. Grandma Bissett's sober news, "Here come toes like 10 little Indians," caused Mama her first inconsolable heartache. 3 foul omens meant a lifelong war for his soul. The moment her baby boy latched on, before he tasted her milk, she prayed for a second son strong enough to break the curse on the elder. She was the kind to take the reins. Instead of floundering at the mercy of bad signs, she took grave care in conceiving another child, which began with unflagging attention to her ill-fated son. She named him Galen, as her mama advised, who had married a Hillman with French roots, to her lifelong satisfaction. But when it came to soul knowledge, she trusted her own Irish heritage. "Brand him tranquil. Maybe the dark spirits will see unruffled waters and forget what lies beneath." Mama wrapped Galen's belly with a flannel band until the umbilical stump blackened and fell off. Turned the band 3 times before tossing it into a blazing fire. Grandma Bissett buried the afterbirth near the hearth, behind the chimney. Mama insisted Daddy send for his sister from St. Louis to lay eyes on the baby and quick throw the nearest hat she could find into the fire. Daddy said there wasn't no hats to spare for women's damn fool ways, but Mama prevailed, and Aunt Mary burned Grandma Bissett's best Sunday dress black. In the early weeks, Mama checked Galen's face often as he slept, fearful of a smile that would show he was talking to angels. If he became beloved to the heavenly hosts, they'd call him home before his first birthday, see right away they'd been deceived, and give him over to the devouring arms of Satan. Galen forever parted from a redeeming work of grace. To purify her milk, she ate several raw onions a day, drank sorghum and water by the gallon, and chewed fragrant long green tobacco. She allowed Galen her teat day and night for 2 years to ward off pregnancy until her body had renewed itself strong and resilient. When she discerned the time was right, Mama dug up mayapple roots, called mandrake in the Bible, which proved the ancestral reach of its known powers. She filled her ears with soft candle wax and bound her head tight with 3 scarves so as not to hear the roots scream when she pulled. Nobody ever has survived hearing a mayapple root shriek. She soaked them in water for a week and slipped a spoonful of brew into Daddy's breakfast coffee every morning. No matter how bad the day wore him down, by nightfall he'd be horny as a young buck rabbit. She liked to tell how them roots split partway up to where they looked like long, shapely legs hanging off a woman's body. Said the Lord had a sense of humor hampered by his eye for loveliness. They carried on in this way until her womb quickened with new life. The 3 years between the births of her sons belonged to Mama like no other season before or after. She willed one thing, She judged all she saw and touched as it stood in relation to Galen's salvation. She called it her time of purity. She wouldn't leave the house without shielding her eyes from every sight but the ground at her feet, for fear she'd witness an improper occurrence and mark her second son with a weakness sure to jeopardize his power against the spirits chasing Galen. She knew a case where a pregnant woman chanced upon rival snakes fighting to the death. Her baby was born snake-eyed with a tongue he couldn't keep in his mouth. Grandma Bissett didn't hide her ill ease. She said there never was a mama more bewitched by her child, and blamed it on his sloping almond eyes, so big they took up half his face and changed color according to light or temper, from every shade of blue to anywhere along the rainbow or worse. Rile that boy for good cause, and his eyes go black as tar before it hardens. Mama denied it. She'd never once seen his eyes turn black. Grandma said Galen danced on his toes at the leanest side of his mama, blinding her to his devilry, loving on her like they was the only two folks in the state of Missouri. Nobody else could lay a finger on him. Mama accused Grandma of pining, lonesome for them sunny smiles off her own long-gone baby boys. Grandma said every one of her 3 boys had loved their daddy too. Galen's soft, pearly body bulged with muscles that brought to mind a growing foal. His thick yellow hair passed from ringlets into swinging locks. He talked before he walked and never did crawl. But Mama battled such portents with contrary spells. Soon as he pointed at a biscuit and said skit, she strung a week old bunny foot on fresh spun wool and tied it around his neck, bundled up bindweed with frail skeletons of chickadees, wrens, and warblers, and hung them from pawpaw trees around the farm. She taught him the Lord's hymns, and by the time his little brother was born, Galen sang like God's littlest angel in a clear, high soprano voice, on pitch and expressive in feel and tone. Mama said a child could sing like that had to be heaven sent. Her belly mushroomed late summer. She brewed spikenard leaning over the pot, swooned to its sweet musky steam, drank several quarts a day and paced the farm, her head draped in muslin and bowed low to her stubby, dusty toes. Her day rung unwelcome, the air wrong, sticky, blistered with the stench of rabbits dead from uncommon heat. Daddy sprayed and fanned, but 33 does had gone, 4 good bucks and no end of babies. The heat weakened Grandma Bissett's heart. She'd quit eating, turned yellow, and took to bed. Mama didn't dare let on. Daddy had promised to come at the needful hour, but he was frantic. Rabbits dying, the ice wagon not showing up day after day. He'd have to start skinning or burning. Her pains came faster. She braced her forearms on her knees, shorter spaces between. The house sweltering, her skin on fire, an urgent voice begging, dragging on her. Find a cool place, cool as shaved eyes, dark as cool. She gathered up her sharpest knife, rags, a can of gasoline. Nobody to watch Galen. He pulled on her dress, whimpering, naked under his overalls. One shoulder strap drooped to his elbow. He'd wet him all day in satin dust. He looked hard into her face with pine cone eyes, scowling, followed her everywhere, into the barn, into an unused stall crossed by one thin ray of light allowed by a knothole, into old hay where mice would be nesting. She clawed at her buttons, wrestled to free her burning skin.